Let's talk about AI and how the threat from AI may actually wake up humanity and save us. The other day, I had to do some research through the OSHA regulations, the Occupational Safety and Health people. And looking through these regulations, there's a lot there. It's like reading the tax code. And it isn't that complicated, but as I'm going through it, I'm questioning, do I understand the definitions as they define them? And is this section that I'm reading entirely inclusive, or could I be overlooking something in another section of the code that might apply to what I'm doing here? And as I'm digging through this voluminous regulations and code, I'm thinking this could take me a long time to really digest, and I'm not an expert on it. So it occurred to me, hey, let's see what AI has to say. So I formulated a couple of AI queries describing my situation that I'm concerned about in terms of manufacturing, safety, and general best practices, and said, what OSHA regulations would apply in this situation, and how would we be OSHA compliant, and cite the regulations. And in moments later, AI kicked back several pages of information, which was a real nice, concise, detailed report, exactly what I needed to know. Now, of course, with AI, it's always a matter of trust, but verify. It's not always perfectly accurate, but I thought that's fantastic. And what a great tool. And wow, if I was a research assistant, this could be a tremendous tool and maybe a threat to my future employment. Very powerful. And yeah, AI could threaten a good number of jobs. If your job is primarily one of doing research and pushing papers around, AI might be a threat to your viability in that role. But I don't think that people are afraid of AI because they're afraid that AI is going to take jobs. It'll certainly take some jobs, but I don't think that's the real core threat of AI. I think what we're afraid of is its personality. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't it be great to have an AI president of a company or maybe a country? Because what do these people do? They sit at the desk and they have problems come to them that are complicated, and we need to figure out what the best approach is to move through that problem. And an AI supercomputer with an IQ of thousands and a detailed knowledge of most of humans' knowledge and history, it could gameplay all these different scenarios really quickly and say, if we did this, what would be the outcome? If we did that, what would be the outcome? Sort them out and say the best possible outcome is this action. What a great tool. But we're afraid of that because we're afraid of its personality. It's not human, it's a machine, and it makes cold, calculated decisions. So if we had AI do staffing of a manufacturing plant, it wouldn't look at the people as Bob and Mary and Lisa. It would look at them as human resource labor units. And it would make some rather cold, calculating decisions as to how many resource labor units are required and how many should go, without regard to the impact it's going to have on those that go. And so for that reason, we don't want some cold, calculating machine determining our fate. Now, we already have an example of this, and we're already knee-deep in it, because there's a human analog to AI, and that is psychopaths. And I think that psychopaths and sociopaths are the greatest threat that we have. Now, if you ask a lot of people what a psychopath is, I think the common definition, the common thought is, well, that would be somebody who's a serial killer, some kind of maniac, some kind of character like Joker from the Batman movie, or Dr. Evil, who's thinking about putting lasers on sharks and such, or some kind of crazy serial killer, Silence of the Lambs kind of guy. And yeah, those are probably psychopaths, but they're not your average everyday psychopath. It's said that a small percentage of the human population are psychopaths, maybe 2%, 3%, I don't know, maybe more. And so that means that out of every group of 100 people or so, probably somebody you work with, somebody you went to school with, they're a psychopath. And a psychopath can be really, really hard to detect. Even seasoned professionals who are in the mental health business can be fooled by psychopaths, and they have a hard time sussing them out. And a psychopath is somebody who, they just don't have that emotional connection with other people. If somebody is suffering, they can look at it, they can analyze it, and they can go, sucks to be you. But they can't connect with it. They can't feel it. They aren't the kind of people who cry at funerals. They're just cold and dead emotionally when it comes to connecting with other people and their feelings. Now, many of them are extremely smart, and they realize that if they're going to get ahead in society, they can't act like robots. They have to fake it. I recall watching Bill Clinton years ago at a funeral, and he was in his head down with his hands over his eyes, looking very sad, but there weren't any tears. I think Mr. Clinton was probably calculating in his mind that how unfortunate, this guy was a good resource. Or, how fortunate, that guy was a threat to me. But he put on the act so that he could fit in with society. And many of the psychopaths are better actors than Hollywood A-listers. They're really good at it. And so many psychopaths that you meet might appear to be very social, very charming people. And where do we find psychopaths? Well, like I say, they're sprinkled throughout humanity. But they tend to get ahead in business because if you don't have emotional connections, if you can lie and pass a lie detector test, no problem, because you don't have any emotional response to it. If you have no guilt or remorse to the things you've done because you just don't care about other people at all, well, that makes the game you play a little easier. And so a lot of psychopaths find themselves rising up in business. And there's been some estimates that as many as 20%, maybe more, of leaders of large businesses have psychopathic tendencies. I would hazard a guess that a lot of politicians fall into this. Now, of course, we also have psychopaths that are not so smooth and smart and slick. Psychopaths who just aren't that bright. And these people tend to be ultra-violent. And these are the folks who are often running around in society, assaulting people, shooting people, murdering people, stealing stuff, causing a lot of trouble. And a lot of our prison population is made up of people with psychopathic tendencies. And psychopaths are born. They're not made. And they're just born without that circuitry in their brain that allows them to connect with other people. That's the way they're designed right from the get-go. There's no fixing them. We've tried punishing them. We've given them long prison sentences. And sure, they are skilled liars, and so they might act very remorseful and say, yeah, I've given it a lot of thought, and I've become a religious person, and I've turned over a new leaf, and so on and so forth. But the fact is, they are who they are. And no amount of therapy, no amount of mood-altering drugs, no amount of punishment, nothing changes the way they are. And this is probably why, if we look at the prison system, 9 out of 10 felony prisoners after about 10 years or so, within 10 years of being released, find themselves back in the system. What to do with these people? They won't change. Nothing changes them. And we have way too many of these folks in leadership positions running the country. And it is the exact situation of having AI running the country. It is cold and calculating, maybe working for its own aims rather than the good of the people. And it does not care. I mean, it really does not care at all about the damage it might do to people. And so this threat of AI might wake people up to the threat of psychopaths or sociopaths. Sociopaths have a lot of the same characteristics, but they tend to be people who were more or less born normal, but usually through traumatic events have lost their ability to have empathy. For example, maybe somebody who gets pulled into a war zone and they have to kill the enemy. And at first, that's really gut-wrenching to them. But after they do it again and again and again, they develop that cold, 1,000-yard stare and become a cold, calculating killing machine. And they just don't care anymore. Now, a sociopath, once upon a time, had the ability to empathize with other people. So there's a sliver of hope that maybe some of them could be rehabilitated. But psychopaths, no. You can't fix something that doesn't even exist. And they just don't have the ability at all to understand that. It's like that piece of their brain just was never formed. It's just missing. And you can't fix something that's just missing. Now, of course, this is not to say that every sociopath or every psychopath is a bad person. I think they have deficiencies. I think they are different from normal people in a very fundamental way. And we have to understand that not everybody feels the same way that we do. But some psychopaths are very intelligent, and they realize that they're different and that they have to fit in order to succeed. And some of them make the calculation that if they lie, if they cheat people, if they act in a way that is not positive towards others, well, eventually, in the long term, that doesn't serve them well. And so some of them make the logical decision to be good people, to honor their commitments, to help others out, and to be plain straight dealers. And with those folks, well, I think we can get along. But a lot of psychopaths are out for themselves, and they just don't care about anybody else. And we see an awful lot of this behavior in the leadership of the world. And I think that we have to recognize that those kinds of people are not good people. Now, they might be very smooth and attractive and slick and be excellent actors and seem extremely charming. But we have to be aware that things are not always as they seem. And I think that the rise of AI and people being concerned, saying, I don't want a cold calculating machine making decisions for real people. Well, if we're wise, we'll look around at the people who are making a decision for other people and say, are these real people? Like people like you and I with real emotional feelings? Or are they just cold, calculating human machines that don't really care? And I think that if the attention moves in that direction, there's hope. Now, it's going to be really hard to suss out who is and is not on this spectrum of psychopathy. Because, like I say, even trained professionals in behavioral science, they get fooled by these folks. They're really, really good. But I think as more and more people become aware of the fact that out of every 100 people out there, 2 or 3 or maybe more of them are these cold, calculating, unemotional psychopathic individuals who could pose a threat, I think we might become more careful in who we select to follow. So I think that AI has got the potential to be a fantastic tool. And I think that it also has the potential for doing a whole lot of damage if we don't contain it. But it can also teach us some stuff. And this is a lesson that I think would be really good for humanity to learn. Well, just the way I see things, just some of the stuff I think about as I go about my day. And I thought I'd share it with you. Hope you found it interesting. If you found it interesting, you got something to add, feel free to chime in down below if you'd like. If you enjoy the content, you want to hit the thumbs up, that'd be cool. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, maybe you could subscribe to the channel, make it easier to find the channel again. If you hit that bell for notifications, you'll be notified when new stuff drops. Hey, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to catch you again soon.